Hello, 8th graders. Hopefully you have all had a chance to turn in your math work from yesterday. That was completing, as much as you did during the class period of your Chapter 6 review, and then sending that to me, via email using either the camera on your computer or doing it using the WebPaint app, writing on the PDF and then sending it in to me. That's also fine. So I'm going to leave it up to you guys whether you prefer to use, pen and paper, or if you want to use the online tools. I'm going to leave that up to you. As long as I get your work by the end of the day, that's all that really matters to me. Okay, so today we're going to move on to Chapter 7. We're going to start the chapter the same way we always do, which is by reviewing the vocab. What I've done is I've loaded the vocab onto a PDF. I've assigned it to you in your assignment today on Google Classroom. So you have your vocab words, which are on page 165 in your textbook. So you can use your textbook or you can use the PDF that I have assigned on Google Classroom. So in addition to this PDF, I've also added our illustrated vocab PDF. So this is the format that we always use in class to record our vocab words at the beginning of the chapter. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 4 on the second page. There's 3 on the first page. I made a little more space here. And as always, we're going to try and pick the words with which we are the least familiar. So if you know one of these vocab words, in your sleep, that's probably not the one that you're going to pick to do your vocab, visual vocab on. You're going to try and choose the words that you feel like you could use some practice with. So we have a couple steps here. We're going to start with picking 7 of these words to record in our visual vocab. Okay, we're going to record them in our visual vocab, and then we've done this once before in school, and we're going to try and do it again now. I'm going to have you present 4 of those vocab words to me in a short video, which you will make on Seesaw. And I've included the directions for signing into Seesaw here. I know we only did it once in class, so I wouldn't be surprised if most of us needed a little bit of a refresher on how to get back into Seesaw. So I'm going to do an example to start. Okay, if we start over here on my words to know, my first vocab word is fraction. So a fraction is a number that names a part of a whole or part of an object. So we know that a fraction of a whole refers to a part that is less than 1. So if I have a fraction of a cookie, I have less than the whole cookie. I may have a half of a cookie. To be honest, I don't know if I've ever had a half of a cookie given the choice. I usually have the whole cookie. So that was a bad example. But maybe something like a cake. Maybe you would have 1/8 of a cake, or a 1/16 of a cake. You probably don't eat the whole cake or else you'd get a tummy ache. But a fraction is part of a whole, part of an object. So the numerator is going to be when we talk about the top of the fraction. So let me pull up my handy dandy, there's a factor rainbow from our other class. Let me erase that. Let me pull up my handy dandy web paint here. So if I have the top of a fraction, I have the numerator. I'm going to have my fraction bar, right? And then on the bottom of the fraction, I'm going to have, click a little lower, my denominator. Okay, so I have up here, let's say I have my numerator, and down here I have my denominator, right, which is going to be the bottom of my fraction. So the top is the numerator and the bottom of my fraction is the denominator. So a proper fraction is a fraction in which the numerator is less than the denominator. So it means this number up top is less than this number on bottom, which means that the fraction represents less than 1 whole. So if I ate 1/2 cookies, 1/2 of a cookie, I ate less than a whole cookie. So 1/2 is a proper fraction. The numerator is less than the denominator, and the fraction is equivalent to less than 1 whole. Now when we get to an improper fraction, it's going to be a fraction in which the numerator is larger or equal to the denominator. So there are two cases in which we can discuss an improper fraction first. Let's try, say we have 3 over 2, or say over here we have 3 over 3. So I'm going to add in my fraction bars here. So our first fraction is 3 over 2, our second fraction is 3 over 3, and these both represent, that's just a comma, these both represent improper fractions, so fractions in which the numerator is larger than or equal to the denominator. 3 over 2, so this would be 3 halves. So imagine I had 2 cookies broken into halves. I would have 4 halves, and imagine I ate 3 of those halves. There would be 1 half left over, so I ate 3 halves of the cookie, 3 over 2 cookies, right? So more than 1 cookie. Since my numerator is greater than my denominator, I've eaten more than 1 cookie. And over here, I've eaten 3/3 of the cookie. 3/3 of the cookie means I've eaten the whole cookie. I usually eat 3/3 of a cookie. It's true. All right, let's look at our next vocab word here. We have a mixed number. So now we're talking about a number with a whole part and a fraction part. So a whole part and a fraction part. That would be something like if I ate, so we can actually, let's take this improper fraction and make it a mixed number. So 3 over 2, that means there's two halves. 2 halves equals 1. And then there's 1 half left over. So if I have 1 and 1/2, that is going to be equivalent to 3 over 2. But instead of an improper fraction, now I've written this as a mixed number. So 3 over 2 is equivalent to 1 and 1/2, because if I have 2 halves, I have 1 whole, and then I would have 1 half left over. So out of this 3 halves, again, imagine I had a cookie. So if I had 1 half here, 1 half of the cookie, another half of the cookie here, and then I had 1 final half of the cookie. This is 3 halves of the cookie. Here I have 1 whole. This is 1, and left over here all by itself is the extra 1/2 of the cookie. Okay, so now we're talking about equivalent fractions, fractions with different numerators and denominators that name the same amount. So whether I eat 5/10, of the pizza, or I eat 4/8 of the pizza, in both cases I'm eating the same amount of pizza. I'm eating half of the pizza in both of these cases, but the thing that's changing is the size of the slices. So in this case, 5 over 10, I'm eating 5 out of the 10 slices, so the pizza is cut into 10 slices. Over here, I'm eating 4 out of my 8 slices. The pizza is cut into 8 slices. Each slice here being larger, an eighth is larger than a tenth, so 4/8 is equal to 5/10. Even though we have more pieces here, these pieces are smaller than these pieces. Okay, so lowest terms when the greatest common factor of the numerator and the denominator is 1. So if we were to put 5/10 and 4/8 in lowest terms, we would have 1/2. We'd have 1/2. Okay, let me erase my cookie scenario up here because it's kind of in the way. Sorry, cookies. Sorry, cookies. Okay, so if we were to put 5/10 and 4/8 in lowest terms, so 5/10 equals 4/8, which equals 1/2. So if we look at this, the greatest common factor of the numerator and the denominator is 1. The GCF of 4 and 8 is 2. The greatest common factor of these two numbers is 2. So this is not in lowest terms, so we're going to divide these both by the GCF, so we're going to divide them by 2. Okay, so we could go 4 divided by 2 equals 2. 8 divided by 2 equals 4. Then we'd have 2 over 4. The GCF of 2 and 4 is going to be 2. We divide them both by 2, so then we get 1 over 2. And excuse me, I just did that in 2 steps, but I could have done it in 1 step. What I should have done is I should have divided both the numerator and the denominator by 4, because the greatest common factor of 4 and 8 is not 2, it's 4. Silly Miss Flaherty, I made a mistake. So the greatest common factor of 4 and 8 is 4. So 4 divided by 4 would be 1, and 8 divided by 4 equals 2. So that would get us to our lowest terms. That would get us to 1/2 in one step. I accidentally did it in 2 steps because instead of doing my greatest common factor, I just used a common factor, which will take more steps. So to do it in 1 step, you're just going to use your greatest common factor. Okay, lowest terms, we're all set with that one. And this is usually how, if you're doing operations with fractions, you usually want to express your answer in lowest terms. Okay, so like fractions are fractions with the same denominator. So we could say that 1/3 and 2/3, those are like fractions. Unlike fractions, I'm going to draw it over here just so we're not swishing ourselves. I could do 2/6 and 1/3. Those are unlike fractions because we do not have common denominators. We have different denominators. Okay, an average is a number that tells you something about a group of numbers. That's a very interesting definition here. We have a more mathematical definition for average that we're going to be using. Okay, so what I want you to do, now that we've gone over these terms, I'm going to erase them. And you can, of course, just pause the video or rewind whenever you need to. So I'm going to erase these here. You guys are going to fill out your illustrated vocab. So if I were to do, let's say I wanted to do, oh, that's not available. Let's see. Let's say I wanted to do fractions. Let's say I wanted to do fractions. What I would do is I would pull up first my definition. So I'd say fraction up here. My concept would be fraction. My written definition would be what corresponds with my definition here. A number that names a part of a whole. I can stick with that. A number that names a part of a whole. And then my illustration could be very simple. My illustration can be as simple as, 1/4. That's a fraction. It's a number that names a part of a whole. Okay, so it can be as simple as that. So you're going to fill out this visual vocab sheet. Again, if you want to write these all down on a piece of paper, or if you have a printer at home and you want to do it that way, that's fine. If you want to use this web paint app and do it this way, you're just going to submit a screenshot to me of your work. Either way, you're going to end up filling out 7 of these vocab terms, just like we always do, and then you're going to submit your work to me at the end. So by the end of today, I should have in my email your copy of your work. Okay? All right. So then what we're going to do is we're going to go on over to Seesaw. I'm going to leave this up here. This is going to be my last instruction for you guys. I'm going to leave this here, and I'm going to ask you to sign into Seesaw, okay, and make a recording of yourself presenting 4 of those vocab words. All right, so you're going to pick 4 of those vocab words from your visual vocab sheet. You're going to submit them to me in this video as a presentation. Okay, so first you're going to open the Seesaw class app, going to app.seesaw.me on your browser, on your Chrome browser. You're going to click I'm a student. You're going to copy, you can't copy it, but you can look at this code here. You're going to enter this code, capital NDCA space, capital WTVP. You're going to enter that in for our class code, and then you're going to use Google to sign in. And when you sign in, you'll see that I have assigned this to you. Chapter 7 vocab. You're going to make a video and present 4 vocab words of your choosing. All right. So I hope you guys, I hope that this goes smoothly for you using the technology. If there are any questions, please feel free to shoot me an email, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. All right. So I'm excited to see the assignments that you send to me later today, and I will talk to you soon. All right. Bye.